and maybe if we have any, we can, pass till next time.
All right. So Rick, you've got yours going. Let me get the,
So Joe, you're implying that Larry needs a vacation.
He had a long day. I just feel sorry for the guy.
Yeah, and he's been on constant vacation for about the last 6 months, so I'm not feeling too sorry for him. I am grateful for his service, though.
It's recorded, so it's on the record there, Rob.
Uh-oh. Now he's mad at me.
Well, I always have been. You have more hair than I do.
Oh, no.
He just wants it to be warmer so that he could get to the golf course.
I know. I made a tee time for next week. That's exciting.
That was in the way, so we need to hope for warmer weather.
Yeah.
It looks like recording's back. All right, so we'll resume our regular agenda here. So we do have several for information items. I think we can hopefully go through quick. The first one, the Deer Management Subcommittee. Rob is still working on that, and we're not prepared for tonight to discuss. So, Rob, hopefully I'm covering the update, but you're assuming you're still working, and we'll put that for the next meeting.
Yeah, it's hard to get it off my plate. There's a lot riding on it, and I have admittedly procrastinated and so forth. But we'll get it going. I don't feel too late because it's been a couple of years in the works already. But I want to get it done.
All right, we'll move on then to the next one there, Rob. Thank you for your work on that. We'll look forward to discussing it. Old State Road issue, Mr. Cross, is there anything you want to briefly update on that?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I will. We did give an update at the last council meeting. Mr. Vanek was in the audience, so I made it a point to cover all the things that hopefully helped him understand where we were on the whole thing. But so some of this will be repetitious, but there are some new things that have changed. So as you all know, we're not doing the roundabout this year, but I also spoke that the county on their dime is going to restripe, remove the little island there at Ridge Road and Old State Road, and then do some restriping to help directing the traffic to be more at a 90-degree angle. So that will help hopefully in how traffic moves in that particular intersection. Moving on south down Old State Road, then we have the lighted crosswalk. And as I mentioned, the county is providing the materials for that crosswalk. And then we are to provide the labor. The city is to provide the labor to install that. We did get one quote, and the installation entails a concrete base as well as erecting all the components and parts and pieces of that rapid flashing. There's a fancy term to it that Mr. Brown knows and I don't, but it's a flashing sign. Anyway, the first quote that we got is about just under $6,000 to install that. I informed the mayor of that. He was okay with that because initially, since it is a county road and not city of Wildwood, he didn't want to pay a lot of money, if anything, but he did agree to the $6 grand. However, we are getting a second quote from Authorized Electric, another one of the city's contractors. So hopefully we'll get that quote this week. And then what John is done is the county provided a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, and so I passed it on to John. He's modifying it, dropping in the appropriate language, and then we would take that to council to execute that MOU and get that lighted crosswalk done. Moving further south down Old State Road, then we get to Fairhaven Estates, and that is where Mr. Vanek lives and his son. The shared use path is a project that'll be 2024, 2025 in that time frame, which would include perhaps a crosswalk at his subdivision. That's something that he has been pushing for. There was also there was a request by the Ward 7 councilman that there are two signs, one south, one north, that say Hill blocks view, and it's kind of a triangular sign. They had asked, could that be flashing and so forth. So since it is a county road, we took that to the county, asked them if they would do that. They gave us the reasons why they could not. They're valid reasons. Mr. Brown and I agree with that because there are a lot of reasons why they can't do that. However, they did offer to restripe Old State Road at that intersection, to take southbound traffic in particular up right at the crest of the hill, and also then to install a median right there at what that main road is. I forget what it's called, but the road coming out of Fairhaven Estates. So it'd be a 4-foot wide median, and that way southbound traffic would not be, they wouldn't try to cut that corner to try to avoid traffic coming in. They'd have to go a little bit further, which takes them over the hill. Then they make a 90-degree left turn into the subdivision because they got to get around that island. So all it takes is for the city to say, give them the go ahead. So I took that email from the county, I sent it to Mr. Flasher and to Mr. Hopper so they could see the county's reasoning for not lighting up those signs saying Hill Blocks View, but also their recommendation or their suggestion that they will pay for and install that striping and that median. The next step would be for us to then meet with the trustees to make sure they're okay with that. We would assume that they would be. But it's a safety issue and it's a good suggestion. So that will take care of that. That could be done in the spring, just as soon as we give them the go ahead. Well, actually, I think they could get it done. Well, they can get that done in the spring. They can get done the striping at Ridge Road and Old State in the spring. The contractor that would install the light crosswalk there at Ridge Road, they can have that done in 30 days. So these things are all moving along fairly quickly. That takes care at least an awful lot of the issues that have been brought up in Mr. Vanek and some of the others. So that's an update. I'm happy to answer any questions, or else we can, move to the next one.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of good updates, a lot of good information. So I'd say, we could just continue moving forward with the next item, the electric vehicle charging station.
Okay. Two meetings that were scheduled to take place got postponed because of the weather. Ameren was supposed to come out and look at the situation and the power situation. We have 2 quotes for the charging stations themselves, the material. And then we wanted this one that we got a quote from to quote labor, but they needed to come out and they were supposed to come out last Thursday and that got postponed. So we're trying to push that then to reschedule that for next week. So once we have some quotes, which we should be getting, then we can come back to the committee. I would hope that we can come back at the next meeting and be able to give you some hard numbers anyway, in terms of what it's going to cost to put in the kinds of charges they're talking about and that sort of thing. So we're getting pretty close to where we can come back to the committee.
Thank you for that update there. All right, next item, does that assume that I'll cover that one, Steve?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you.
All right, and I see Ms. Councilmember Clark is here as well. We haven't connected yet, Councilmember Clark. This still remains an important item that we want to address, which is, how to improve accessibility for our citizens. So we do want to bring this back to this committee when we have more information for you on what work we started putting together. Councilmember Clark, do you have anything else you want to mention, or you good with that? All right, you're on mute, maybe. Okay, maybe she's not able to speak at this point. All right.
I'm good.
Okay, oh, I see it there. Okay. All right, so then that concludes all the for information items. The next item is a for action item, which is the review of the topics for inclusion of future agendas. Mr. Cross, do you want to speak to that, or you want me to?
I'll go ahead and take it. I'll take it from here. Chair Garitano and I spoke about changing the agenda up a little bit. As you'll recall, in the past, we've always put high priority, medium priority, and low priority. And Mr. Garitano kind of said, I don't like that because it seems like one's higher than the other. So what I said was, well, how about if I do this? And I'll just list them all. And from 1 through 8, we can. And so what we can do this evening, if you wish, is go through each one and pick a date in the future in terms of when this would be ready to bring on up into the agenda as a for action item. So that's kind of what we're doing here is then we would actually all agree on when we can get these things done. I would ask that you take it easy on me and don't make everyone do at the next committee meeting, because it might be a little tough.
Yeah.
But anyway, this way, then we know that we all agree on when these things will, and so they don't just kind of lag on the agenda.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Cross. So yeah, to what Mr. Cross mentioned, just by date, what month would be the ideal targeted month for bringing this up? And what I mentioned to Steve about the priority, I mean, everything is important for our residents. And I always just felt that high, medium, low just made it seem like, one may not be as important as the other.
Mhm.
And really the intent of it when we did this a couple of years back was really more about the time frame, like now, next, and later. So what we're just going to go quickly through this, and hopefully, and what I'll do is maybe, if you're okay with it, maybe I'll just kind of suggest something and see if there's agreement or consensus. Feel free to challenge it, but just to walk through. So
Chair, one thing that would be helpful, I think, is if you look at those list of 8, look at the ones that you think are most important. Because then, I think if we start there, so if you think, the reviewing the city clerk and administrator performance, or about the sunshine requests from council members, take a look at the ones that you think in your own mind are most important. And if you can agree on that, then we can agree on a date.
okay, well, let's do that then. Mr. Bertolino, what do you have?
Yeah, maybe even a more simplified approach. We put these items on the future agenda list, and at one point they were all an A priority, and we just kind of rolled them down the hill. Why don't we just take a simple approach of saying there's 8 of them here, start with A, and A becomes the one for the March meeting, and B becomes the one for or April, and you go on down the road for the next 8 months. The only one that might need to be adjusted was the question about the Juneteenth 222. Maybe we slip that in the either the April or May issue, so we can get ahead of that one. Other than that, why don't we just take one a month until we get them all rolled out?
Well, just from a time sensitive perspective, like for example, the Juneteenth as a city holiday, I think it'd be fair if we made a decision on that next month, so our employees can plan on it. They can plan to take the day and do something with it rather than just kind of throwing it, right before. So, and that should hopefully be a fairly quick discussion there, I would think. But if that's okay, then why don't we, Mr. Cross, are you writing this down, or?
Yes.
You can write down? All right. So why don't we just start with the top? Review of IT systems regarding ransomware and other threats. Is there anyone have any strong opinion about this one? Katie?
We've got an IT firm that we work with. That firm should be able to, under our current agreement, provide that service to us today and provide a report back to this committee on any concerns that they have, any work that they think needs to be done, any upgrades that the committee or that the city should do. And then we should give them the proviso that this information may be used for a bidding request. We've done this with other contractors, but they need to, I think that needs to all go to an outside firm and have them do it.
Well, Mr. Cross has already gotten that information from our current vendor.
Okay.
Mr. Cross, you got your hand up?
Well, I was going to say, Ms. Dodwell is absolutely correct. When this first went on the agenda, I did report back at that time that that we had gotten a report from our current, which is ThrottleNet. Current ThrottleNet is our IT vendor. So I had gotten a written report, a multi-page written report showing, that everything is covered. And by having that in writing, if anything goes wrong, I've got that. Number 2, then I've also reached out to the folks that handle our website to make sure that our website is secure and somebody can't hack into us through our website. So I've got written documentation about that. And then most recently, Dawn Kaiser and I had a conversation with our insurance vendor that provides our liability insurance and so forth. And so we have insurance. And so we wanted to make sure we're totally covered, up to our legal limits in terms of, ransomware and that sort of thing. And so we have all of that. Now, one of the things I was holding off, and I think I mentioned back then, is at some point in time, I really think it is in the best interest of the city to look at alternatives to ThrottleNet. ThrottleNet's okay, but I think they're expensive. I think they kind of nickel and dime us. And there's a vendor that the mayor has worked with and that I've worked with for many, many years that we're kind of halfway through getting a quote from this vendor, but I also wanted that person to take a look at it from another set of eyes. And that's kind of why this is sort of languished, because that we haven't pulled the trigger yet on doing that. So I guess I'll leave it to the committee how what you want me to do with all that information. If you want me to summarize it or what, and then tell me kind of what dates you'd want to talk about that.
Steve, if I could suggest, and again, I don't want to get into talking into the details of this. It's more of like, is this like a March, April, or are we talking more of a, May, June, July? I think it's a March, April type of time frame because, anything that's a risk, we really want to prioritize that. And if that's okay with the committee, unless there's any strong objection, Steve, could you do that?
I've got it down for April.
I do see two hands up. I mean, are you all, Rob?
That's what I was going to suggest is let's just get this done and over with, and then have something as part of this documentation. Let's have something that we can publish to the public. We don't have to give them all the details, but say we're doing these things, doing X, Y, and Z to ensure that your information and our city's information is safe.
Okay.
All right.
I have it for April. You okay with April?
That's fine.
Miss Edens, did you have your hand up for a reason?
Yeah, I just had some high level, non-detailed, just quick discussion. If you want the potential to do native grass planting, that is a spring conversation.
Oh, well, I'm going to get to that one in a second.
I thought you were asking for a general.
I'm just going right through the list.
I'm just going through the list.
Okay, well then
Just
the only
quick.
thing I would add to the IT systems is, regardless of what ThrottleNet says or the insurance carrier, is you need to have an internal policy, and I wouldn't make this public. Maybe this is closed session.
Oh, no.
We'll have to talk about that when we get to that item. Though.
About whether-
When
Yeah, so maybe what I'm saying is you could put it on a executive session where we discuss what our policy is about if we pay for ransomware, because there's two types, one that deletes your information and another that.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that in open session right now.
No.
We don't want to
There's
give
lots of
our
things with
secrets
IT we
away.
don't.
Right,
or
that's
are we-
what I'm
are we-
saying. Put it on close.
Fair enough. All right, social media policy, obviously been out there a long time. It's languished, so I get the sense it's not super urgent, but also would like to see it come off. I don't think it's a March, April. My gut is probably more of like just sometime around summertime, just get it out of the way. So, maybe like a May, June type of time frame.
How about July?
I'm
Is
good
it
with
really-
that.
Really something that this got put on here a long time ago because of offenders of the city who are no longer with the offenders. Do you really feel like this is something that we even need to have?
Even better.
I still think it's something good for the city to have, so that anybody who becomes an employee or a council member, and I think it ought to be something that is signed by said individual, that they have read it and understand it.
Well, we do have one right now. It's just, this was to enhance it. So,
Yeah.
so being that you do feel about that, let's just put it on July, as Ms. Dodwell said. I don't see any other hands up about that one. And again, there's no dependency on that we need to do that. Mr. Rambo?
Yeah, I'm going back to the discussion specifically concerning ThrottleNet. I concur and support Mr. Cross's contention that we should look for alternatives. I can't speak to their services in other areas, but I do know that in the security space, they've provided advice that wasn't, that really couldn't solve the problems that we were complaining about. And so they seem to lack some knowledge in that area. And I think that's a critical area that's becoming more critical every day with the ransomware and the other things. And so I just wanted to make that point.
That sounds like you're in support of the March and April, so we're not going to change that.
That's right.
Okay,
Yes.
good. And we've got B already figured out for July. C, native prairie grasses. Councilmember Eden said this is a time-sensitive item because of the weather.
If we're planning this year, yeah, you either want to do earlier in the spring or, I don't know how well these seeds do in fall. That's a Rob question, but you also have to have time to get a bid out as well and get it done before it's, July.
Happy to answer it, but I think we've delayed too long for anything to be successfully planted this spring. We'd have to, plan it out for next fall.
All right, with that, then it sounds like we'd want to start in the summertime. Is also a July timeframe sound good, or June maybe because you need to have time to get it out to bid and get it all set up and ready by late August. All right, so June for C. Okay, policy regarding sunshine requests by council members. Again, this one is not time sensitive. It's been out there before, but also one that we would like to try to get out of the way and done. So I don't see an immediate need, but maybe, kind of May, June timeframe would be probably reasonable. Any objections to that? All right. E, I mentioned briefly before, the only reason I would say is we want to get it away is just to try to provide planning for staff that they know if the decision is made for a holiday. So with that, is that any objection if we try to get that next month? Okay. All right, the city clerk, city administrator appraisal process. We certainly want to do it before that process starts, which is around August. So I would suggest it's not an immediate need, but probably we're looking at the June-ish timeframe to allow a month or two to prepare the process. So no objections on that. G is sewer lateral insurance program. City addressed this issue years back. It does require, unless we take some other different approach, voter approval, which at the time the voters did not approve of it. So I think that maybe some discussion will be around information and education, but that's to ensure sewer lateral for probably a nominal cost. Mr. Cross, is that, I think you may have added that there. Is there anything you want to say about whether this is time sensitive or?
Well, I'm going to bring Rick into this conversation as well, if he's there.
And again, yeah, just strictly just to give us an opinion from a time frame.
Right.
We don't want to get into debating it.
Okay, so basically I'd put that out. It was one of the residents came before the council at a work session, you'll recall, a few months back, and brought this up and spoke very vocally about it. So quite honestly, I'd put that out in about the August timeframe. I don't consider it to be time sensitive at all.
Okay.
Rick?
I wouldn't disagree, no.
All right, so then with that, that would be the August timeframe with no objections there. And then the last one, again, just a desire to get the resident survey out. We did talk about it at last month's meeting. So, I would say it'd be nice to get it out, soon, March, April, May timeframe.
Can we put together perhaps a subcommittee of this group to put together the questions or to
Yeah.
It seems like we've got several individuals on this committee who have done this type of work before that perhaps could work with us to put the first draft together to make sure that we're capturing everything that everybody requested.
I'm happy to. I brought it up and I've expressed a desire for us to get some kind of metrics, measures, quantifiable and qualitative data about how our
Mhm.
residents feel. So I'm happy to take that one and, provide a draft of some questions based on what we've done in the past and get your reactions on that.
Because I think at one of the meetings, we went through every single question and said, yeah, let's keep this one, let's ditch that one, let's combine these. Did we not?
We sent it out. We sent it out for feedback.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I sent the feedback months ago, so
Okay.
sorry.
Well, Mr. Cross, is that kind of, you want to put a window of like maybe sometime in the spring or something like that between May and June, or April and June, let's say?
Yeah, I'd put it out a little bit, but I appreciate very much Ms. Dodwell's suggestion of having some other people involved. This is a big thing. If we start with the 2015 survey and use some of that, but I mean, that was a very, very long survey. So some of you on this committee certainly have experience, and believe me, I would love to have the help. I mean, I'll coordinate whatever you want me to coordinate, but if others want to, from Mr. Garitano and Ms. Dodwell or whoever, that would be much appreciated. I'd put that out. I'd be thinking more like June, because that's a pretty big task, I think.
Let me ask you a question. This will maybe help dictate the time.
Mhm.
I know we have a Gazette coming out soon in April. When's the next Gazette after that?
Mhm.
That in the fall?
Yes, it is.
And that would save us money on cost if we put the link to the survey, a QR code.
Mhm.
So it seems like that's going to help drive our timeline. So it'd probably be a fall type survey.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we got a little bit of time we could work on over the summer to get it. And then we could set it up and we don't have to do an additional mailing on the survey included in the Gazette.
Excellent idea, but I would like to get the survey results back within a 3-week window or something after the Gazette goes out, because we've got budget information coming that we have to.
That'd be good input
clean.
on that.
That'd be good input for budget.
All right. Mr. Cross, any thoughts, comments?
Yes. So are you, you're not suggesting, or are you suggesting that the link in the Gazette would be the only contact we would have to the residents regarding this survey? We would still email or put on social media?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's just timing wise. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if we're talking about getting that out, maybe early fall or something, we want to start this process maybe June and start, this committee and the folks that are willing to help, whittling down and getting to the questions. That would be starting around June. Does that sound about right for you all?
All right. We'll do June to start to work on that. That sounds
And
good.
I'll volunteer to be on the subcommittee to go through questions and hammer it out with you, Joe.
All right. We got through all the lists there. So thank you again. Just wanted to run through it and want to get in there and to start debating the items. So that we now have our list here. I don't see, is there anyone that objects to the order? If not, I'm just going to assume that, everybody's in agreement and we'll move on. All right. So with that, we're going to Public Works. We've got 3 items. Rick, this is all you, right?
Save the best for last, right?
You're going to go fast, right, Rick?
I'll go fast. All right, council members. The first Public Works item pertains to our annual concrete street replacement project, I believe. And I think you probably realize every year we do have a project, and we typically have solicited bids for that work. This time of year, presented the bids to you with a recommendation. Last year, the project was awarded to Kelp Contracting. We did have 6 bidders at that time. Kelp was the lowest. They have typically bid our work and come very close to being the low bid. But last year was the first time they've won it for some time. As you know, they are our local hometown contractor. So it was nice to work with them for a change. Per the terms of our 2021 agreement, we included a clause that allows us to extend the contract by 1 year by adjusting their unit costs by the percentage change in the construction cost index that's developed for the construction industry in the St. Louis area. The construction cost index is tabulated by the Engineering News Record. Some of you may have heard of that publication. It's a construction industry publication, and they track construction costs throughout the US and publish it annually for the metro areas around the US. And for St. Louis for 2021, that increase was 4.4%. So for 2022, we do have $850,000 budgeted for street replacement and another $150,000 for sidewalk replacement in our road and bridge fund. And given the exceptional work that KELP did for us last year, we would like to recommend that we extend their contract for 1 year, making the adjustments of 4.4% to their unit prices in their contract. This is not something we've done recently, but given the quality of work that they provided to us, it was clearly above and beyond any other contractor that we've had since I've been on board. And they do this contract for Ellisville. So I think between the two cities, they're able to really perform very highly at a very high level. And so that's the recommendation, is to extend KELP's contract by 1 year, utilizing the 4.4% increase from the construction cost index for the St. Louis metropolitan area. And I'd be certainly happy to answer any questions regarding the recommendation.
All right, so you got Rick's recommendation. Councilmember Gross, you got your hand up. Then we'll go to Dotwell.
Yeah, Katie, I know you had your hand up first. You're more
No big
important
deal.
than
I was
me.
just gonna move, and can we have it on next week's council meeting for first
Yeah,
reading?
I'll second if that was a motion. Was that a motion, Katie?
Yes, it was a motion. Move and have it on
Okay,
the
I'll
council
second.
Okay,
agenda next week.
got the motion. Any other discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, then we have the recommendation. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone oppose or abstain? All right, that motion passes. Rick, you did good. Let's see if you can keep it going.
All right, thank you very much. Council members, I believe the next item is relative to the trim grant. Correct me if I'm wrong there. So I think many of you know this already. It's last year, working with Davie Resource Group, we've tried to take advantage on an annual basis, the grant program that the Missouri Department of Conservation has, which is the Tree Resource Improvement and Maintenance Program. And Davie submitted an application for us last year to MDC for that program to do a citywide street tree inventory. We haven't done a full street tree inventory for some time. I believe it was 2010. I want to say I made a note of that in the memo. So the idea would be to do a full street tree inventory, update that information in TreeKeeper, which is the web-based GIS application that we're using currently. We have done some inventory of our ash trees to get a handle on that problem, but we have not done all the street trees. So this would take it and update it for current data, and utilizing TreeKeeper is a very helpful way to manage the data. It is available for you all or the public to look at, so you can go on the application and see where certain property is, see what trees are in front of it, what the species is at that location, and other information is also gathered relative to the street trees that are out there. So this is essentially a recommendation that move forward with an agreement with MDC to obtain the $22,785 to do the citywide street tree inventory. It's a cost share program. However, the cost share on our part is essentially they allow you to pledge other expenses that you are enduring and that you are spending. And in this case, we are going to use our costs to remove ash trees, and they allow us to use that as a credit for our 25%. So it's a very easy program. So the recommendation is to move forward with an agreement with MDC to do the citywide street tree inventory and under the trim grant. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
All right, Rick, thanks for your recommendation. Anyone wish to make a motion? Oh, according to Rick's recommendation. I did see two hands up pop up right away, Councilmember Edens and Hopper. I know Councilmember Rambo, you got your hand up, but sorry if Mr. Hopper, I saw him first.
As long as it gets done.
All right, any other questions or discussion on the item, on the motion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, anyone opposed or abstain? The motion passes. Last one, Rick.
Thank you very much. Council
Chair.
members.
I'm
Oh.
sorry, Rick, I'm going to interject here if you don't mind. Mr. Chair, this is a discussion that I was hopeful that our city attorney could participate in. He was part of the discussion when Mr. Brown and I first started talking about this. I would like to ask if we can postpone it. I don't believe that we have any time-sensitive issues regarding street dedication, so I really would like our city attorney to be part of it. Unless Rick feels otherwise, I would ask to be postponed. Rick, are you okay with that?
That's an important discussion. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. I agree with you on that. That will definitely take some discussion there. So if there's no objection from the committee, we'll just go ahead and postpone the item to the next meeting agenda. All right. Then with that, looking at the agenda, we've covered all the items. Is there anything under miscellaneous? All right, seeing none. Next meeting, Tuesday, March 8th. So is there a motion for adjournment? All right, Councilmember Dodwell and Councilmember Hopper. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Motion, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks for a good one, guys.
Thank you.
Steve, real quick question. Do I have a word limit on what you want me to type up tomorrow?
No.
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 Okay. Thought I should ask before I did.
No. Go far. The more words, it'll make the article.
Tape in the recorder. They got like an old VCR there. They just,
I'm not seeing the live stream option popping up. What's going on? Is that on yours, Steve?
Well, I can, let's see here, live on YouTube. Let's see here. Public, go live. Should be good.
Yeah. I see we have one attendee too. So Miss Emma Clark is joining us. You may remember her. She's been to a couple of our meetings and learning about our city. So welcome, Emma. Hope you're doing well. So we're going to get started here on our Tuesday, February 8th Admin Public Works meeting. So great to see everyone and hope you're doing well on this day, which is actually quite nice outside and melting that snow. So let's get started with the roll call.
Sure. Chair Garatano,
Present.
Councilmember Bertolino,
Here.
Councilmember Brost,
Here.
Councilmember Dodwell,
Here.
Councilmember Edens,
Here.
Councilmember Hopper,
Here.
Councilmember Nyhan, Councilmember Rambo.
Here.
Okay.
All right, thank you. And Councilmember Nyan does plan to attend. She did say she was running late, so we should expect her soon. All right, next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the January 4th meeting. So is there anyone that is willing to make a motion and the second for approval of the minutes? Made by Councilmember Brost and seconded by Councilmember Dodwell. Any comments or question on the minutes? All right, seeing none, then all those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose or abstain?
Abstain.
One abstention, Councilmember Edens. Minutes are approved. All right, next we have is public participation. So at this point, I'll ask if there are any comments from the public. I only see Ms. Clark there. I'll certainly ask Ms. Clark if you have anything you'd like to say. If you do, either do the raise hand or put something in the chat just to let us know. All right. Seeing no other folks, then we will proceed with the next part of the agenda. However, before that, I know that City Administrator Cross would like to ask the committee if we could rearrange the order of the agenda. So Mr. Cross, if you want to just explain what you want to cover first, we'll do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee, I'd like to see if we can perhaps change the order a little bit. We do have an executive session scheduled on tonight's agenda. I'd like to see if we can perhaps do that early. Mr. Young has another commitment, and he will be part of that. There are 3 topics that I would like to cover in the executive session, one of which I would want Mr. Young to be part of. What we can do, if it's okay with you, if you all could approve going into executive session now, we can cover the 2 items or we can go out of it. However John would like to do it. I think he's got a hard stop maybe at about 7:30, 7 to 7:30. So if we could do that first, and I guess what we can do is cover the 2 topics, or at least one topic in particular, discussing the rates for the city attorney. So if we went in now, Mr. Young would not be part of it. I could call him then, and then he could come in for the other 2 items.
All right, and with that, is there someone that be willing to make a motion in a second to rearrange the order as Mr. Cross has described? Councilmember Edens and Rambo, all those in favor of changing the order, say aye.
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 Okay, so we're going to change the order. Before I do ask for a motion to go into executive session, I will ask Ms. Clark, you are, we're going to have to ask folks to exit the meeting temporarily. Fortunately, I do have still your number, so I'd be happy to send you a message once we get out of closed session so that you can rejoin the meeting. I see a hand up, Mr. Brost.
I saw something where Teresa was asking to be in the closed session. Is there a reason why she can't?
She certainly is welcome to. Yeah, I was going to answer her question. So being that she
Okay.
is a council member and all council members are ex officio members, she can sit in on the session if she'd like to. But for Ms. Clark and members of the public, what we'll do is, and I only see one again, yep, I saw that she has exited. So we'll contact her once we exit out of closed session.
Okay.
And just
Thank
a
you.
reminder, as we are conducting the meeting, we'll have to wait for Mr. Brown, Mr. Cross to stop the stream, but we'll do that after we first get a motion and a second to go into executive session. We will need to do a roll call for that. So is there a motion made by Councilmember Hopper, seconded by Councilmember Dodwell, to go into executive session under RSMO 610.021, Section 1, and RSMO 610.021, Section 12. So we'll need a roll call.
Councilmember Bertolino,
Yes.
Councilmember Brost,
Yes.
Councilmember Dodwell,
Yes.
Councilmember Edens,
Yes.
Chair Garitano,
Aye.
Councilmember Hopper,
Yes.
and Councilmember Rambo,
Yes.
and Councilmember Nyhan.
Yes.
Okay, so now that we have that motion is passed, let's just hold off momentarily while they pause the live stream or stop the stream and the recording. And once that's done, we'll be able to have our executive session.
And Mr. Young will need to exit as well.
Oh, yeah, I assumed he already knew that. So we'll have to just contact him when that time comes for him to join us.
Right.
For that matter, you want me to exit too, I would assume, do you not?
Actually, yes, you do.
So I will do that, and you're gonna stop the recording? You want me to do it right now?
Yeah, if you go ahead and stop the recording, that'd be great.
All right.
I've stopped the live stream.